How good are Genryu's panic and evasive moves? Now, of course, he's not on the same level of someone like Lei Wulong or Fang, where they have tons of evasive moves where they can basically use the option select to get themselves out of a lot of trouble. But for a big boy, he does have a few sneaky evasive moves and some decent panic moves. And we're going to talk about some of those moves right now. What's up, everybody? This is Acid Light. Welcome back to my channel. We have another Tekken 7 Genryu beginner's guide with a focus on his panic and evasive moves. Not all of them, I'm just going to go over some of them. But before I do that, I did want to say thank you guys for all the amazing support you have given me. I get a lot of amazing comments, which is very encouraging. Just basically lets me know I'm doing something right, because content creation is definitely not easy. So thank you guys for that, because it really pushes me to keep moving forward. I also want to give you guys a fair warning. If there is a panic or evasive move I've already talked about in a previous Genryu guide, for example, like his back 1+2, his 10-frame Punisher, I'm not going to talk about it here because I just don't want to be repetitive and repeat myself. But besides that, yeah, let's jump into the video. So the first move, which is a very obvious panic move, is Genryu's Power Crush, which is 4-3+4, which is a mid attack that comes out in 23 frames. This is minus 13 on block, so don't spam this. I've actually seen Genryu players spam this sometimes, and you can be heavily punished for this in certain situations. It knocks down on hit and on counter hit. This move has decent range, so if you want to, you can use this as a whiff punisher. The Power Crush properties activate between, I believe, frame 8 and 23, which may be too much detail, but I just want to say that is pretty good because his absorption properties, when it activates, covers up until impact, and I don't think all Power Crush moves do that. I think some might be 1 frame or 2 frames short of impact. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure some don't go all the way up until impact, so it's kind of a nice little side benefit there. Also, since it is a Power Crush, it has this, Power Crush weaknesses that basically come with the weaknesses of a Power Crush. So if your opponent, for example, goes to throw you when you're doing a Power Crush, that throw will become unbreakable. So that can be a problem. Be careful. Say you're playing King and he goes for his giant swing and you're doing a Power Crush. No matter how much you press 1, you're gonna get swung. Down forward 2+3 is a low attack that comes out in 22 frames. So technically, I believe that's reactable, but most people won't be able to react to it. It is minus 15 on block, so launch punishable on block. So if you do find somebody that does have good reaction, do not abuse this move. It's dangerous, and it knocks down on hit and on counter hit. This move tech crouches means it puts Genryu in crouch status, so all high attacks will just go over his head. So if you're playing against an opponent that's like has a lot of 10 frames starter strings, typically the first attack and sometimes the second attack will be a high attack, or if you read your opponent doing a lot of high attacks, like maybe fast safe on block moves, which a lot of times turns out to be high attack, this is a good move to go for because it will go underneath that. Genryu's down back 2 does the same thing, and it does launch. I just prefer this move because this move is faster and is safer-ish on block. Genryu has a built-in sidestep attack with his sidestep 1, which I'm showing you right here. It comes out in 17 frames. It's a high attack. Oh, I love how, just look at that. It just looks like he's slapping them out of you. Look at that. Man, it's actually a really cool animated move. As I'm showing you, it's a natural launch on hit and counter hit. It is minus 9 on block, so completely safe on block. It is a high, I repeat, so if your opponent reads, they can duck and launch you, so you do have to be careful about that. Genryu is a big body character. I've said this multiple times, so trying to do a sidestep move might not be as easy as, like, for example, Asuka's sidestep attack. So try to set it up off of things that are, unless you know his hitbox very well in his movement, set it off of things like plus on block moves, like I'm showing you right here. Genryu has a ton of plus on block moves, so you have more frames to work with when you do the sidestep. Or if you have good character knowledge of the character you're playing against and you know the move is linear, this is also a good option to go for. Back 401 is a mid attack that comes out in 30 frames. When you land this attack, you knock your opponent around. They literally turn their back to you on hit. It is minus 14 on block, so very, very unsafe on block. There's certain characters that can launch you. This is probably his most evasive attack, so if you're good with setting this up, you can get a lot of easy whiff punishers. But if you don't set this up correctly, you will find you will easily get whiff punish yourself, so you need to be careful about that. So as I said, when you land this attack, your opponent turns all the way around, giving you your back. And you have a few options right here. One of the more popular options is 2-1-2. You basically go into a string into a launch. So really, really nice damage there. You get a big combo. The risk with that is if your opponent reads 2-1-2, they can duck, and then they can launch you for going for 2-1-2 because 2-1 is a high, so they can basically duck and then punish. Another option is down forward 2, and the damage isn't as high. However, this is a good option to beat out if you know your opponent is going to duck, assuming they assume you go for 2-1-2, because you will launch crouching. The problem with this, if your opponent reacts fast enough, they can block down forward 2, and you basically get nothing in return. So that's the risk for that. Another option is to do down 1+2, and then another option is to do your down forward 1 string, which I'm pretty sure is completely guaranteed. Just be aware of your spacing, because there are situations that if you land back 4-1, you may still whiff your follow-up attack. So just become very familiar with the spacing of when you land this attack. Now I'm going to go a couple moves from Genryu's sit stance. You enter his sit stance with down 3+4, and when you enter his sit stance, you become tech crouch, meaning once again, all highs will go over your head. And if you do sit stance 2, which is a low attack, you stay tech crouch and you get a launcher, which is really nice. Now sit stance 2 is -17 on block, so very launch punchable on block, and it is a low, so it's susceptible to things like low parries and low crush moves. Sit 1 is kind of the mix up you do here. It's a mid attack that comes out in 27 frames. I say kinda because even though Sit 2 is a low attack and Sit 1 is a mid attack, Sit 2 is 19 frames and Sit 1 is 27 frames. So really good players can fuzzy guard this, but it is a mid attack. It is -4 on block, so completely safe on block. Knocks down the hit like I showed you earlier. And if you land this on counter hit, it does crumple stun, so you do get a launcher there. Okay, I just realized I didn't actually talk about Genryu's punch parry, so I have to throw that in really fast. Genryu's punch parry is performed with back 1+3 or back 2+4, so basically your generic throw buttons, just, you know, backwards, and it only works on punches, hence punch parry. And if you do land this, typically the follow-up is just down 1+2. Okay, and that is the end of my Tekken 7 Genryu's beginner's guide, going over some of his panic moves and evasive moves. If you guys like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. As I always say, all support is very, very much appreciated. If you guys like Mortal Kombat, Dead by Daylight, obviously you like Tekken, please consider checking me out on Instagram. This is Acid Light. You guys take care.